Hi there, I'm Tom Milligan. I'm a GP partner and I also work as a GP lead for the East Riding CCG. Today I want to present a different way to think about the work we do in GP surgeries. The reason I do is to highlight changes we could consider that would make life easier ongoing. This video is intended for GPs. Assume that the views are for those of the CCG and not me personally, and that despite this training, practices will remain responsible for their own decisions. Let's represent all the work we do with this. This is a mixture of fruit. And I want to think about this as this vessel representing everything in practice capacity. This is how much work everything you and your team will do in a day. That includes telephone calls, tasks, letters in, letters out, appointments, home visits, referrals. And this is going to represent all the work coming into the practice in a day. So we're kind of hoping that everything over here is going to fit into our capacity vessel over here. If your surgery is anything like mine, then this is what tends to happen. So we're trying to fit everything into our day, and we find that bits have not quite fit in as we'd like to. So what I want to do is to start to have a look at what this work is coming into a practice. This is what we describe as the demand, and I want us to really understand it. When we study it, what we find is that it's not a mixed group of fruit at all. There are in fact 3 different types of fruit. So the first group is sweet tangerines. In this case, proper GP work that we're best placed to deal with. We call this value demand. Examples include, I want to check my achy knee, I need my flu vaccine, I'm worried about my mood. The next group, this one, the limes, really represent services people think are part of general practice, but not actually part of our workload. Things I'm talking about there are things like sick notes for people who've been off work for less than a week. Clearly they could have self-certed. People who come to us mistakenly believing that they should be coming to us for a dental assessment. People who just want to have a physio referral. And you might have heard of the phrase secondary care dump. Well, that fits here too. These are all examples of something called external failure demand. The CCG is working to tackle some of these issues with the acute trusts and the LMC. This involved contractual things as well as the BMA template letters. There's another area, however, which is not covered by these groups, where I really think I could do with your help. I'm interested in communications coming to GP surgeries that are not useful for the patient record, but take us work to process. I can't promise to answer it all, but having the information in one place allows us to better speak with the trust to get it stopped. Maybe the midwives are sending you group and save results and they believe that you're going to do a primary care transfusion, or the mental health team are going to tell you who they've referred on to, but not what the outcome was of the assessment you asked them to do in the first place. If we can compile a list, we can work with the LMC to reduce this load in order to free up all of our time. The final group, you may think of normal GP work, but actually only occurs when we don't do our main job well in the first place. And we call this one internal failure demand. Imagine that I'm asked to prescribe a medicine and I don't get round to it that day. Think then about who pays for the surgery to answer the call when the patient calls us back, who gets another task about the same thing, who then gets interrupted whilst doing another task. So I want you to think now about what percentage of your day might be spent doing that kind of work that doesn't add value for our main job of helping patients and doesn't help us do great primary care. Some people estimate it's 40 to 60% of all the work that we do. My question is, how can we change systems in practices to eliminate this waste work? Once you study a system, for example, how does our organisation process HbA1c results, you can start looking for things like duplication, moving work from one person to another without actually completing it. You could look for unnecessary steps in your process, things that cause delays, things that have caused errors. You might notice that there have been complaints, and that could highlight an area which isn't working too well. Sometimes we're over-prescribing, and that's creating us extra work, and sometimes we're even over-referring, which again creating extra work. But there are a few features of failure demand that are really interesting. If you look for it and study the causes, it's completely predictable. It is always caused by the system itself. And if we consistently complete our main work well and in good time, then the failure of demand would disappear completely. it doesn't help our patients or make the world a better place. The patients would be happier and the system would be safer, and we could all go back to going back on time. Now, every surgery is different. The biggest causes of your failure demand will be different than mine. How about in your organisation? What are the small system tweaks you could think of to stop waste work creeping into your organisation? I'll talk another time about one of our projects that saved an enormous amount of time and improved our safety. If there's one take-home message, it's this: we should be eating tangerines, we're being fed limes, and we're making ourselves eat lemons. Take care.